Hello everyone, this is Misha Houston, and I'm back to do my review for the haves and the have-nots. Tonight's episode is entitled Mad Day, and I thought it was a very good episode. It wasn't as great as the others, but I think it was a pretty good episode all around. But I have to say this, there were a few points in tonight's episode that didn't quite jive with what happened last season. There were two separate scenes, and I will get to them both, in turn. The first group of people we go to is Benny, Detective Logan, Justin, Mitch, and Veronica. Now, Benny has been arrested for the murder of Quincy Maxwell, and Detective Logan is dragging him through the hallways of the hospital in handcuffs. Benny, while being dragged, is saying, "Wait, hold up." He's telling Detective Logan that he hasn't done anything wrong. He says that Detective Logan says that seeing as you didn't want to give us any information, you didn't want to tell us about Candace or Quincy Maxwell or give us your sister's phone number, you're going to be put into prison. Benny says you can't do that because I haven't done anything wrong and you can't force me to give you any kind of information. Logan says he thinks that he's resisting arrest, which he is obviously not. But, Detective Logan, has come off as very desperate in this moment. You can tell how desperate he is to get his man and to solve, the case of Quincy Maxwell's murder. Benny tells him repeatedly that he hasn't done anything wrong. And then Logan tells him, if you're not willing to discuss the case with me, then you're going to be put into prison. Justin, who is the arresting officer, tells him that he's going to go and check out any other witnesses in the hospital. Benny tells Mitch not to tell Hannah about anything. Don't tell her anything about this because it would only upset her more. Mitch says he won't say a thing and he'll try to get Benny a decent lawyer. Mitch promises Benny that he'll get him out of this, but Detective Logan tells him don't count on it. Mitch mentions Veronica Harrington, but Benny doesn't want her to be involved in this at all, and I don't blame him for that. Just then, Veronica walks by, and Mitch calls out to her and calls her over. Veronica comes over and she says, "What's going on here?" And Detective Logan tells her that Benny is under arrest and you can talk to him at the station. But Veronica, goes into lawyer mode and tells him that I will speak with him right here and now. But Detective Logan is not swayed or intimidated by her, and he proceeds to take Benny off to the precinct. Veronica tells Benny, don't say anything until I get there. And Benny agrees not to say anything. Now, as Benny is being carted off, David walks by. She proceeds to chase him down the hallway, and apparently she's forgotten that just a little while ago she had a gun to his head. I mean, it's like she forgets who she is and what she's done the second that she does it. And she just expects the world to follow suit, and then she is offended and hurt when people that she has hurt and that she has done wrong to doesn't abide by her rules and just pretend like nothing happened. It really shows how delusional she is, and I personally think that Veronica has some sort of personality disorder. I think she's delusional. I think she's a paranoid person, and I think she has some kind of personality disorder. She teases David by saying, "Oh, they just arrested my man," and that she needs to stop fooling with these young thugs. She asks David, "Where is Jeffrey?" But David doesn't answer her. His only concern is for Jeffrey and not for her. David pulls out his cell phone and leaves a message on Jeffrey's answering service saying that he's here at the hospital. Give me a call. Veronica asks him, "You just gonna ignore me all night?" But David pretty much looks right through her. Then he goes to the nurse's station and asks the nurse about Melissa and her condition. David tells the nurse that he's a concerned friend of hers. And then the nurse asks him, what's the person's last name? But David, doesn't know Melissa's last name. We all know that her name is Melissa Wilson, but he doesn't know that. And Veronica is unwilling to tell him exactly what her name is unless she gets some information out of him about the woman that he has been seeing. He asks Veronica her name, but she's unwilling to give it. And the nurse is, seeing as David doesn't know Melissa's last name, the nurse cannot give any information to him about Melissa's condition. David picks up his phone one more time and then calls Jeffrey again and leaves another message on his answering machine saying that he's waiting for him by the nurse's station. He goes to sit down in the waiting room, and Veronica sits next to him. Then they start to have this hideously intense conversation with each other. David asks her, "Are you going to tell me her last name?" And then Veronica says, you should know your future daughter-in-law's last name. Then Veronica tells him, "I am going to give you the information that you want if you give me the information that I want. David refuses to answer any of her questions about the woman that he is seeing right now, about Erica. David sits there and remains silent, and Veronica says, you're just going to ignore me all night?" And he doesn't give an answer to her question. Then Veronica says, "I hope that you enjoy waiting because it's going to be quite a while." David then accuses Veronica of pushing Melissa into killing herself. She says that she would never do that, but David tells her that you're not seeing the pain that you're causing. You don't understand the hurt and the pain that you're causing. And he tells her that he's glad that he's left her. Veronica asks him, "Are you sure that you're gone?" And David tells her, "Yes, I am completely and fully gone. I couldn't be more gone." Then she starts in with her threats. Her normal, barrage of threats when she can't get her way. She tells him this is the thing about marriage. You tell your spouse everything, and then one mad day comes, and the person that you love more than anything knows your deepest, darkest, and hidden secrets. David says, your threats don't scare me. But she tells him that's what everyone says. David tells her, I know your dirt too. I know things about you as well. And then Veronica tells him that you don't know how clever I am. And then David insults her and pretty much calls her, really pretty much tells her that she's no better than a rabid wolf. Then Jim sits behind, he pops up, and then he sits behind sits behind Veronica, and then starts to howl like a wolf. Jim says hello to Veronica, and she calls him a bastard. Then he comments on David and Veronica and tells them that they both look tense. Jim asks David how is he doing, and David says he's fine. Jim asks David, did you get the number yet? Did you get the number traced? And David says that he is working on it. But Jim tells him that maybe he should work a little bit faster. Veronica asks the two of them, what are you two devils doing now? And then Jim tells her, what are you talking about, leader of legions? And then Jim tells her that we're just herding cats as usual. Jim asks Veronica sarcastically, how are you doing? And Veronica tells him, oh, I'm just wonderful. And then she stands up, stands up to give David and Jim a good look at herself in her pretty dress. But in some kind of attempt to get their attention. And then Jim tells her, oh, you look like something, while David just looks in the other direction. David has no interest in Veronica at all at this point. And, I can't, honestly blame him, for that, how could you blame him, Then Jim alludes to Veronica keeping quiet about the death of the DA. And she says, yes, I'll keep your secret, but only for now. Jim tells her thank you. And then Veronica says, everybody, all of the federal agencies and the police, the federal and the local police are going to be looking for this DA. So she tells him, whatever the two of you are planning, it better work. It better work. Jim tells her, oh, it's no problem. It will work. But I have to kind of wonder about that too. Then the conversation moves over to Wyatt. She brings up Wyatt. And seeing as she's had him abused in prison, Jim tells her, I'm trying to be civil with you, but so it's best that you not bring up my son's name. She tells him, don't worry, I haven't done anything to him. It's something that he has done to himself. Then she finally tells them both that Wyatt is in the hospital right now. Both Jim and David get up and walk over to the nurse's station. They both get up and walk to the nurse's station, and Jim goes to the nurse and asks her, is my son here? Is Wyatt Cryer checked into this hospital? The nurse asks Jim, who are you to the patients? And Jim says, that's my son, I'm his father. They ask the nurse a series of questions They ask her what room is he in and what is he in for, but the nurse refuses to give them any information, and she says that she's going to page the doctor. After that, Veronica just walks off. I know Veronica is feeling unloved. I know that she's feeling unloved, but she has to realize that this is all of her fault. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said that there were a few points in the storyline that didn't quite jive with what happened in the previous seasons. This scene was one of them, because as I recall, David put a restraining order out on Veronica. But it seems to me in that scene that they've both forgotten that. He put a restraining order against her, and yet he's just sitting there in the hospital with her, sitting right next to her, and she's violating the restraining order. I mean, he's within his rights to call the police and have her carted away, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. So, I mean, I really don't know why he didn't think to call the police. Maybe, I mean, was that restraining order a dropped plot? Or did he not decide just to call the police? Was he just going to sit there and, tolerate her threats and her abuse? I mean, I'm not sure of it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's bad writing. Maybe it's me. I don't know. But I did think that scene kind of stood out to me because of the continuity errors in it. Now, the next two people we go to is Jeffrey and Melissa. And to me, this was one of my favorite scenes. Jeffrey walks into Melissa's hospital room, and she immediately tells him to get out. Jeffrey tells her that he just wanted to see how, just to see how she was doing, and just to see if she was okay. Melissa doesn't believe that he ever cared for her at all. She says, "No, I'm not okay. Why would you ask me such a question?" Jeffrey tells her that she shouldn't be getting so upset. Melissa says that you and your bitch of a mother can't tell her anything. Jeffrey says that he does care, which we all know he really doesn't. And that he didn't want Melissa to ever hurt herself. She just tells him to leave. She can't stand the sight of his face right now. And I personally can't blame Melissa for that either. He tells her that he knows that things are bad right now, but taking your life is not the answer. She says, "Oh, you're trying to help me? You're trying to analyze me?" And Jeffrey tells her, "No, I'm just here trying to help you." But she tells him that you're doing nothing but wasting your time. She says that the only person that ever truly loved her was her father, and now her father is gone. He says that your mother loved you, but Melissa tells him that she loves me just as much as your mother loves you. He tells her that he's sorry for her grief and for her loss. But Melissa says, "I know you're not sorry about anything." And then she tells him that you are really no better than your mother. You both just want to inflict pain on me. And she's pretty much says that she's had enough. She says, "Damn that. I'm a person, and I'm a human being, and I have feelings." Jeffrey tries to get her to calm down, but she screams at him and orders him out of the room. And as I said before, I think this was one of my favorite scenes of the night. I mean, I can totally agree with her on this. I don't believe for a second that Jeffrey ever cared about her. And maybe it was all her fault, and maybe it was all Veronica's fault, or maybe it was all Melissa's fault. I don't know. But I know for sure that he never, ever cared about that girl. The next two people we go to is Hannah and Catherine. Hannah is distraught, and she's sitting on the couch. Catherine walks up and gives her a pill and a glass of water. Hannah asks, "Where are they? Where have you taken me to?" And Catherine tells her that this is one of her rental houses and that she has just moved in there yesterday. Catherine wants her to take the pills so it could help her rest, but Hannah doesn't want to sleep right now. Catherine tells her it's the only thing that you have right now that could help you. Eventually, Hannah takes the pill. Catherine says that she made up the guest room for her, but she confesses that it may not be too comfortable. Catherine says that Hannah asks Catherine, "Why are you here? What are you doing here? Why are you in this house and not back at the crime mansion?" And Catherine tells her that Jim and I are divorcing and that she's moved out. Catherine says that Hannah needs to take a shower before the pills kick in. She says that she has some clean clothes in there for her, but they may be a little big for her. She tells her once the pill kicks in, she won't be able to help her off of the floor. It's a strong pill, and it's going to affect her very soon, and she won't be able to pick her up off the bathroom floor. Hannah, doesn't want to take a shower. She's hurt and distraught, and she doesn't want to take a shower. But Catherine tells her, "Look at your hands." The camera, pans down the front of Hannah's shirt, which is covered in blood, and the camera shows Hannah's hands, and they are also covered in blood. Hannah says, "Oh my God, as if she's just realizing how bloody she is. And she said, "This is my baby's blood." And she cries. She says that my faith was all that I had, and it's killing me right now. And she feels like her faith is crumbling in her soul. Catherine tells her when she first met her, when she first did the interview, she said that she knew that Hannah was strong in faith. She tells her that it was you who prayed for me when I had cancer. She says that this is very tragic. This is a tragic turn of events, but she doesn't believe that it's enough to let her faith be shaken by it, especially something as senseless and sad as this. Hannah says that she's only human and that she doesn't understand, and that she is so very angry and so hurt by what has happened. Catherine tells her you need to go on and go into the bathroom and get yourself cleaned up. Eventually, Hannah goes into the bathroom by herself, and she sees the blood on her hands, and then she puts her hand under the sink in the bathroom and washes the blood off of her hands. And she just looks so lost, and she looks so forlorn, and everything in her world just seems uncertain. I mean, you can really tell how lost and hopeless she feels right now. And it was another one of Tyler Perry's great scenes of the night. It was definitely one of my favorites. The next group of people we go to is Jeffrey, Wyatt, Anna, Justin, and one of the nurses. Anna is in Wyatt's room, standing over him, and Wyatt is in his hospital bed, and he's very deep within withdrawal. You can really tell how deeply he is in it because he's looking more and more pale. His lips are pale. He has dark circles and bags underneath his eyes, and he's sweating and he's in pain. Jeffrey walks in, and Jeffrey asks Anna, how is Wyatt doing? And she tells him he's going to be okay. Wyatt tells them that he feels so sick and he doesn't know if he can get through this pain. Jeffrey tells him that you can do it. It's going to be okay. Wyatt tells Jeffrey not to leave. He pleads with him not to leave. Then Anna leaves the two of them alone and they talk. Wyatt asks if he asks Jeffrey if he's sure that these people can be trusted and that they will help him, and Jeffrey says, yes, I know that they can help you. Wyatt tells Jeffrey that he's trying his best to get through this, and Jeffrey tells him that he's proud of him for trying. Wyatt is in agony. He is in absolute agony, and he doesn't know if he can get through it all. But Jeffrey tells him again that he can do it. Wyatt tells him that he's never had to be strong before. And then Jeffrey tells him, just because you never had to be strong before doesn't mean that you're not strong. Jeffrey tells him that he knows that he's very strong and he can get through this. Wyatt complains of feeling sick and that he's never thought that it would ever get this bad. He doesn't remember it ever being this bad. And then Jeffrey reminds him it was this bad when we were at the facility together, back in season 1. Wyatt thanks Jeffrey for sticking with him. He thanks him so much for sticking with him. And that he wants Jeffrey to give him something for the pain. He's asking Jeffrey, they need to give him something for this. Jeffrey asks why did they give you some type of a sedative to help you sleep? And Wyatt says, yeah, some kind of sedative 20 minutes ago. Jeffrey says, just relax, and everything's going to be okay. Wyatt complains that he's cold, that he's freezing, and Jeffrey decides to go and get him a blanket. Now, Wyatt doesn't want him to leave. He doesn't want him to leave. But Jeffrey leaves anyway to go and get him a decent blanket. Now, Jeffrey goes to the nurse's station and gets a blanket from the nurse. And as he's walking back to Wyatt's room, he sees Justin standing out there in the hallway. They give each other both a nervous look, and then Jeffrey walks back to Wyatt's room. Now, when Jeffrey walks back into the room, Wyatt is shivering. So he wraps Wyatt up in a blanket and in an electric blanket. It's an electric blanket. Jeffrey sits down next to Wyatt's bedside, and Justin comes walking in the room. Justin wants to talk to Jeffrey right now, but Jeffrey tells him that he's busy right now. He's trying to help his friend and he's busy right now, and he'll talk to him later on. Justin insists that it'll only be but a minute, but Jeffrey refuses to leave Wyatt's bedside. Wyatt tells Justin that he needs to leave right now. And Jeffrey tells Justin, all these names. Jeffrey tells Justin that he'll be out there, he'll talk to him later, just not now. Now is not the right time. Justin decides to wait on Jeffrey to get finished here. Get finished here with Wyatt. Jeffrey tells Justin that this may be a while, but Justin, decides to wait for him outside. Wyatt thinks that Justin is crazy, but yeah, that's true. Yeah, Wyatt thinks that Justin is crazy, but Jeffrey tells him not to worry about that. Just focus on yourself and focus on getting some rest. Jeffrey asks him, did they ever give you anything for the pain? But Wyatt says nothing that ever worked. Jeff just tells him to give, comforts him, tells him to give it some time, and in time it will work. Jeffrey tells him repeatedly just to calm down and relax. Wyatt thanks Jeffrey for sticking with him, and he admits that he has treated him badly in the past. Jeffrey tells him that he knows that, but he comforts him and tells him that he is there for him. Wyatt tells him that Jeffrey really is his only friend, and I have to pretty much plead with you just to stay here with me. He repeatedly, he tells him that he's cold and he's suffering, and he pleads with Jeffrey once again not to leave his side. Wyatt asks him, if I go to sleep, will you be there for me when I wake up? And Jeffrey says yes, he will be there for you. Wyatt thinks that he's dying. Wyatt thinks that he's going to die, and Jeffrey tells him, no, you're not going to die. It's not going to happen. He confesses to Jeffrey that he was afraid, and that, he was afraid, and that, he was afraid and he was going crazy when he overdosed. Wyatt grabs Jeffrey's hand. Yeah, Wyatt grabs Jeffrey's hand and pleads with him one more time not to leave him. And Jeffrey promises that he won't leave. Now, let me talk about Wyatt for a minute. I don't mind Wyatt being in the story. I really like his character, and I think that he's a pretty, the actor, Aaron O'Connell, is a good actor. But I am so sick of Wyatt and these drugs. I am so tired of that, and I am just hoping that this will be the last time that we hear about Wyatt doing drugs. I hope that this is it. He's been battling these drugs ever since season 1, and I've had enough. Give Wyatt another storyline. Tyler Perry, if you can hear me, give Wyatt another storyline besides the drugs. It's getting old. You got a good actor in Aaron O'Connell. He's a good and decent actor. I believe everything that he tells me on the screen. But for God's sake, give Wyatt another storyline. Please. Thank you. Now, the next two people we go to is Candace and Oscar. Oscar comes into Candace's hotel room and wakes her up. He puts a bag of $250,000 on the bed, and he basically just wants her to give him everything that he has on the future president in order and in payments, and in return he will give her $250,000 as payment. Now, Candace really doesn't have anything on him. He's not, she's not trying to blackmail him. She sees the president, the future president, as a good man with kids, and she refuses to give him anything on the president. Oscar tells her that you don't know this man, and that he's being paid by his opponents to get some dirt on her. Get some dirt on him. But Candace is unwilling to give Oscar anything. And she is also unwilling to give the money back to him. She feels that seeing as he scammed her out of millions of dollars, that this money is owed to her. They fight over the bag, and eventually Oscar leaves. It's really, I mean, it was really one of those scenes that to me could have been cut out altogether. I really wasn't a fan of this scene, and I felt like that whole scene could have been stricken from the script altogether. Now, as she's counting the money, she realizes that there are $100 bills on top of that, and underneath is nothing but cut out folded paper. I mean, I really don't really see the point of Oscar. He's one of those characters that I just can't get a good read on. I really don't know whose side he's on. And every scene with him, to me, is very hard to interpret. I just don't get Oscar, and I really don't know whose side he's on. One day he's with Candace, one day he's not, one day he's with Jim and David, one day he's not. And I don't really see the point of him really being in the story anymore. It's just my opinion. Now, the last scene of the night involves Wyatt, Jeffrey, Anna, Justin, and Veronica. Wyatt has finally managed to fall asleep, and Anna thanks Jeffrey for getting him to calm down. She admits that there was nothing that she could do to calm him. And Jeffrey Anna can tell that Wyatt and Jeffrey really love each other. And they really do, apparently. But Jeffrey tells her he doesn't love me in that way. But Anna says, does he need to be a gay man in order to love you? And Jeffrey says that Wyatt, underneath all of his anger and all of his hurt and all of his pain, that he really does have a loving heart. Which I think is true as well. Jeffrey says that he's going to go home now, and Anna says, you know, he's going to be looking for you later on. Jeffrey tells her that I'm going to be here for him, but I don't want Wyatt to switch his addiction from the drugs and on to me. Jeffrey wants Wyatt to stand up on his own 2 feet, which is what I think everybody wants. Everybody wants him off the drugs and, to be his own man. Anna says yes, that she has seen that before, and she thinks it's wise of him to say that. He also asks Anna, is there a police officer outside the door? And Anna says yes, he's been out there for over an hour. So we know that Justin is still out there waiting for Jeffrey. He says thank you to her, and he'll see her tomorrow, and he leaves Wyatt's room. Now Justin is out there in the hallway, and he has been waiting for Jeffrey to come out of the room. Justin wants to talk to him, but he doesn't want to talk to him out there in the middle of the hallway. He wants him to go somewhere private with him, and Jeffrey, in time, reluctantly agrees to go with him. Now, Justin is walking down the hall, and Jeffrey is walking behind him. But apparently neither one of them can see the fact that Veronica is following them both. And that's another thing. I don't know how they could not know that she was there, because she's wearing high heel shoes. And the clicking of her shoes and her heels on the floor should alert them both that someone is there. But apparently neither one of them sees it, and they both go into the stairwell together. Now, Justin and Jeffrey are on the stairs, and Justin tries to hug and kiss Jeffrey, but Jeffrey pushes him away. they have it out with each other over what happened at Wyatt's apartment. Justin, tries to hug him and kiss him, but Jeffrey pushes him away. Justin says, there's nothing to worry about. There are no cameras here. But Jeffrey says, I do need some cameras around you. Jeffrey is very angry with him, and Justin apologizes for it. Justin says that you don't need to be afraid of me. And Jeffrey says, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you at all. But Jeffrey tells him that me and Wyatt are friends. Me and Wyatt are friends, and you're just going to have to get used to the fact that I have a friend. Which is true. Dude, come on. Justin tells Jeffrey that he didn't know that the two of them were friends, and seeing them together made him, a little bit crazy. Even seeing them together now at the hospital has made him jealous. Justin doesn't like the fact that they are friends, but Jeffrey repeats him saying that they are just friends and it's nothing to be concerned about. We've been friends since we were kids. And he also tells Justin that we're not official. We're not officially together here. So it's not as if we're dating. I have a right to see anyone that I want. Justin tells Jeffrey, don't say that. Don't say that. But Jeffrey tells him that we are not together. And what do you mean, don't say that? It's just so much jealousy here. And they ain't even doing anything together. Jeffrey tells him that they are moving too fast. And maybe they need to slow things down and step back. Justin says that he knows that he's hurt and he's mad at him for what happened. But he's telling him that that's not really who I am. Jeffrey thinks that this is who you are. Justin is trying to control himself as best as he can. And he wants credit. He wants him to give him credit for trying. Jeffrey sees the angry look in Justin's eye, and he tells him that you really need to calm down right now, because that's the look in your eye that you get when you're on the attack, which is true. Justin tells him that he's never felt these feelings before ever in his life. He says that when the rookie cop shot at him, and he saw how hurt and disgusted and you were, how hurt and disgusted Jeffrey was, that it had broken his heart. It broke his heart. He says that he never wants to see that look in his eye again. He tells Jeffrey that I have a wife and I shouldn't be doing these things with you. He thinks about all the things that we do together, and he tells himself this is wrong and I shouldn't be doing this, and that he barely recognizes himself now. But all he knows is that he just wants to continue the relationship, and he wants to keep it going as much as he for as long as he possibly can, and that he's trying his best to control himself. Jeffrey mentions Melissa and tells Justin that he is being forced into marrying this girl. Justin doesn't understand what is going on here, but Jeffrey says he doesn't want to talk about it right now. Before I carry on, I want to say that this is another part of the storyline that doesn't make sense, that doesn't quite jive with the other seasons. Back in the hotel room in the other season, in the episode I believe called Praying for Light, Jeffrey told Justin that he was going to get married, and that Justin understood that. So I guess it's just another scene that doesn't quite jive with the previous seasons. Justin asked him what is going on here, but Jeffrey says that he doesn't really want to talk about it right now. He just wants to leave and that he'll call him later. Justin asked him, are you going to go in the room with that guy? And then Justin says, so what if I am? He's my friend. And there's nothing that you can really do about it. He's my friend now. He's going to be my friend later. Justin, concedes and says, just go. Just go and be with him if you want to. Jeffrey tries to leave, but Justin pulls him in and kisses him goodbye, and Jeffrey leaves. Justin sits on the staircase alone, and then here comes Veronica slithering up the stairs like the snake that she is, and then she asks Justin a question. She asks him, so you're married, huh? And that's where the story ends. Just another crazy episode by Tyler Perry. I would have liked a little bit more story movements, but, the pace is the pace. My MVP of tonight is Melissa. I like how when Jeffrey came into her room, he was pretending like he had no part in the fact that she tried to kill herself. But she let him know that, yes, you were a part of this too. You were just as hurtful and callous and cold as your mother. So for that, Melissa finally standing up to herself and letting everyone know how she feels, and confronting Jeffrey on how he has been treated.